here he goes. Go. Good? That's a big fish.
Full hand on tail. Yeah, looks pretty good.
Look how broad that thing is.
What if I was one that pulled me in?
Beautiful. Oh my, that's a big fish.
Rip! That's what I've been waiting for all day.
That's over 6. Oh. That's a good fish. Donkey. That's a heavy spot.
Oh my God, please get the net. Please get the net.
I got you, buddy.
That was the weirdest one ever. There you go. What the? Oh yeah, he's got another 4.5.
Oh my God, this might be it. If I can land this fish. Holy sh! 5.06. She's thick. Oh my God! Oh my God! Holy! What a beast! Dude, that's it! 5 and 4 pounds smaller than me. Oh wow!
That might be a 4. That might be a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. You're gonna show that off to 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Holy! Trailer just getting that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, that's unbelievable.
He's still swimming. What happened to Mick?
Yup. 5.3. Sorry for freaking out. My first fish of the year. There we go. That's a big fish. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes! 4.14 though. Gee. Not too shabby.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about bass tournament tips. Yes.
What else?
Yeah.
This show's terrible. Keep talking. We're paying members for this.
What you're going to want to do is you're going to throw your bait into the water. And then you're going to wait for the fish to get it.
Solid. But nobody's going to listen to a guy who wears his hat like that. What is this, amateur hour?
This ain't no amateur hour. And then you go throw the bait in the water and catch a snake. Yes.
All right, everybody up.
All right. See ya. Hello, everybody.
As my youngest said, welcome back to the channel, everybody.
We're here to catch snakes.
That's what happens when my wife gets out of work late. I commandeer the children. Hey, you guys want to be on the show? Yeah! Mom's not home to say no. Anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? Let's see what we got in the chat. I wasn't even paying attention. I was too focused on my kids. Oh, Ryan, Tommy, Dave, David, Kyle,
Ryan,
Gordy.
I got the baits. Thank you very much. They should be there probably in the next couple days, I hope.
There you go. Oliver, hey, buddy. Brian, 185 VS. And Donk Swampy. And hopefully a lot more people will be chiming in as well. Welcome back after a 1-week hiatus. He was sick, and then he gave me the suds. And, recovery. Dude, I was dead on Wednesday.
I don't want to hear it.
Oh, I know. You will, though. You're going to hear about it often. Often. I went to work, and I felt like death. And I was like, chilling in the parking lot in my truck for a few minutes. I'm like, I can't do this. And I went inside, grabbed my laptop, went back home, texted my boss. I'm like, I'm not working today, but I came in, felt like I couldn't do it. I'm just going to lay low. And she's like, okay, but I kind of need a couple of these things first. I was like, I can do that. So I ended up working all day anyway. And then Thursday I died. But we back now, baby.
It's not a fun whatever the hell we had.
No, it's
It sucked.
It was like having the flu without a temperature. Is the best way to explain it. With the worst congestion I've ever felt in my life.
I had a temperature. John kept coming to me. I was laying on the couch in the Airbnb. He's like, oh, you're so warm, buddy. Get off me.
Stop touching me. No means no, John. Hey, Josh and Tiago and Ryan. Got my bait yesterday. Thanks, Andrew. There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Already there. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap. We're going to do some just general like tips / information that we have found to be very, very helpful. In not only this most recent tournament we just fished, but in a lot of previous tournaments as well. A lot of it's going to come down to your overall continued positive perspective, attitude, willingness to have fun, and above all else, your ability and willingness to throw out not only your entire game plan, the backup to that game plan, and then random things you pulled out of your ass that like maybe that'll stick, and then going to that next level of what the hell else could I potentially try? Because we've done that multiple times now, and it's worked in the end. Because you just keep going until you find what works. So we'll elaborate on that at some point.
It's like trying to catch a fish when you're not catching fish all day and like not fishing a tournament. But you like need to catch a fish.
Yeah.
So
Paid a lot of money to be here. We gotta try and do better.
Right.
I mean, forget the money from every perspective. It's just like we went to a lake that we've always done really well at, and all of a sudden the lake is just like, you know what? You guys had your fun. I don't want to show up for you today. And it's like, okay, but out of all the times we've been here, this is only the 4th time you treated us very poorly. And one of those other 4 times was during the other freaking tournament last year.
Yeah.
So how about not this kind of timing? That would be great.
last year I got skunked at this tournament. Day 1. Then day 1 this year, I was
So much more efficient. Literally the highest level of increase in productivity.
100%. I caught one fish.
100% productivity
I
increase.
caught 100% more fish than I did last year.
Bravo.
Thank you.
You cannot beat that
And I was
productivity, friends.
I was dying. I slept on the back of the boat. If I wasn't on the boat during the tournament, we would have been DQ'd. So I was on the boat, and I threw glide all day when I could stand.
Dude.
And we had, oh my God, so many 6+ fish follow that thing up, and they wouldn't bite.
We'll save that.
Okay, we'll save it. We'll get to it.
I will legitimately say he had a 30-pound bag multiple times over, within inches of his bait. Like, collectively. Just how it goes anyway. So, oh, Dog Swappy, sorry to hear that, dude, that you had the same thing. It was not fun.
No, not fun at all.
Before we dive into it in full, for those that are here, obviously, one, thank you very much for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Appreciate it. As always. There we go. And if you could do us a favor, please drop a like on the stream if you haven't already done that. Anybody that shared any of the posts leading up to this, thank you very much. I will circle back and be able to personally thank you on any posts that I see that I was tagged, that I can at least see where it was shared. And then for anybody that's watching this after the fact, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Greatly appreciate it. Turn on post notifications. I just choked halfway through saying that. Because as good as I try to be with uploading on a regular schedule, it doesn't always work out like that. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday is what I aim for. It doesn't always happen as consistently in that, and my uploads are definitely not that consistent. So that's why there is an absolute benefit to turning on post notifications. Any video we upload, that will never be missed. On the plus side, with the exception of this past Wednesday, every Wednesday night we're here. So there's that. Other than that, dive into it. So I want to hear from you guys first. Do you want to hear a full recap of how the tournament went last weekend, or do you want us to cover general information and tips for what we've found for just tournament fishing in general? And this is a topic we've covered before in the past. And I guess our overall work ethic, for lack of a better way to put it, our planning and process has treated us very well. We don't fish as many tournaments as we used to, but we have fished quite a few. We've done actually pretty well in the majority of them for a lot of we fish.
So.
And honestly, you know what the funny thing is? The tournaments that we've done better in just by sheer chance and pure luck.
Places we've never been to.
Places we've never been to, or we did zero pre-fishing for. Yeah. We just went and fished, and we did what we always do. Mm-hmm. So, Brian, yes, he did press record. Thank you for the reminder. He's
I read it, and I was like...
So, it's definitely not... This topic is not something new. Obviously, we did it a year ago, and it's not something that we're like, oh, hey, we finished third place in the tournament. Let's talk about tournament recap. No, we've actually got a pretty good list of tournament wins under our belts under a number of different conditions. So between that and everything we've done elsewise, yeah, I think we're qualified to talk about this. Tell you what, I mean, I guess the biggest thing we can say is that we've done very well against a lot of people on their own home waters, on places that, you know, we don't fish all the time and only fish that for the only tournaments we fish. We are well traveled and well versed. It's not like we're just fishing the same lake over and over and over.
Audio.
God damn it. Sorry, that was weird. What point did it stop talking? Probably actually at the right point. I don't know why it does that. It just randomly muted itself.
Is it back?
Yeah, I unmuted it, so it should be.
It's back.
Okay, good.
Okay. So,
That was weird. Sorry.
I don't know how much you guys caught of that, but we try not to fish the same bodies of water over and over and over again. We may fish the same region, but most likely we're not going to fish the same body of water 2-3 weekends in a row. We're trying to figure the fish out in that area of wherever the hell we are, whether it's in Vermont, New Hampshire, Mass, Maine, Connecticut, anywhere up here. If we're like, say, let's see, middle of winter, say December, January, whenever, we're going to move down probably towards the Cape and down into Mass, Connecticut, maybe Candlewood and stuff. We're not going to fish the same body of water 2 weekends in a row. It's just, we're like, oh, that was fun that weekend. All right, let's try another place down there and try and learn that bite. Because it should be somewhat consistent between the two bodies of water down there, 2, 3, 4, 5 bodies of water down there, depending on if they're similar bodies of water.
Truth. And half the time it is consistent. The other half of the time it is completely different.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it fun because then we got to figure them out.
Right. And that has driven, like, no joke, 95% of our fishing for the last, I guess technically the entire time we've always been fishing. But then we started kind of, I guess, putting more thought into our approach to what it was we were doing. It became much more clearly defined. It's like, you know what? Let's just continue to always bounce around and go as many different places and as many different conditions as possible so that we're not fishing patterns. We're fishing the fish. As stupid as that sounds, that's what it comes down to. You're out there trying to figure them out on the fly with the information you're given that day as you're piecing it together as the boat's moving. You know, you show up, you already know what the weather pattern was coming up to it. We've gone to the extent of looking at a depth chart so we know what we're at least expecting for available depths and contours and the whole 9 yards. But then it's like, okay, drop the boat in, wait 10 minutes for the puck to catch up so we know what water temp is, and that will give us another key indicator as to what might be happening. Can see the water clarity. We know it's either largemouth and or smallmouth, so piece those puzzles together. We know what forage is there. You know, one quick Google search will tell you at least depths, and then primary predatory fish in the sense of bass and or trout, pike, things like that, and then all your forage fish too. And a lot of that information tends to be old, so there may be additions to it, but for the most part, that information is still really accurate. And then we're just like, screw it, you know, it looks like a fun place to fish. Let's go, and we'll try and figure it out. But we've become very fast at doing that. Though I will say, the thing that has made it a lot better and easier for us, especially over the last 2 years, is adding on that Humminbird Mega 360. Because
Night and day.
Oh, dude, it's night and day. Because, like, you could do a quick side imaging of everything and get a breakdown of the lake, and that in and of itself is hugely helpful. But being able to, like, pre-identify, yeah, okay, this spot looks good, that spot looks good, that spot looks good. Let's just drive over to it, drop the 360, and know literally everything within 100 feet of the boat in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. Well, within 75 feet of where I'm standing, actually, is the max range. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I kind of over elaborated there on everything Andrew was saying, but that's an an additional explanation of how it is we've gone about fishing all these years, and especially with that hyper focus of like, I don't want to learn the one lake and the patterns it has for every day of every week of the year. I want to know how to figure out fish on the fly, because if we can be really successful in doing that, then imagine, I just keep telling myself, imagine what we could do if we actually had like, what we'll call it a professional angler schedule, in the sense of like, we have 3 days, sun up to sundown, to go and just run that lake and figure out everything we can inside that window and then fish the tournament. Like, I've never done that.
Be ridiculous.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I had that much time in the water. It'd be information overload.
I mean, when we go tournament fishing now, like there's no stress to it. There's no, like, remember when we first, well, at least when I first started fishing tournaments, I get all jazzed up and you get the butterflies, nervous right before the takeoff, and I mean, you just get that way because it's a tournament. You're fishing against, you're doing what you love against other people who love doing the same thing, and you all want the same thing. You all want to win. It's like any race. You all want to win. Now it's like, still kind of not really get that, but like, I get just more excited. Like, all right, let's do this. Let's go. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Then we just go out there and fun fish now. Really, there's no real pressure anymore, unless it's like a huge tournament. But like, even then, it's like when you just go out there, you don't like let your nerves get to you. You can't, or it'll ruin your day.
Yeah,
like you go out in the water, you're pissed off. You're gonna fish like shit. It's just how it is.
No, 100%, because that happened to me between 1 and 2 o'clock Saturday, day one of our 2-day tournament. So
was I sleeping then? I don't remember.
No, but you were out of it, dude. So, all right, I saw one comment. I asked the question, "What do you want? Do you want the recap first or the tips?" I saw recaps. So that's what we're gonna do. But at one point, by like 9 o'clock in the morning, I think maybe 8:30 to 9. It was still pretty early in the morning. I look back and Andrew's just like. Like,
I can't stand.
He's like swaying and stuff, and it was. I looked at him. I was like, "Buddy, if you need to take a nap, just do it." Because I know if you lose an hour right now to feel like 80% better for the rest of the day, that's better for you overall. And I didn't give a shit about the tournament. I just wanted him to feel better for the rest of the day, because that would just be better overall. He'd feel better. He'd probably fish better. He'd be able to stay focused, and he'd just overall improve his mood, right? Mm-hmm. And he's just like, okay. He laid down, he slept for an hour back in the boat. I'm like, I got us out of the wind a little bit. Sun was finally out and shining. It was like nice and toasty warm. I wasn't catching a thing, wasn't even seeing fish. So I was like, you know what? He's comfy. We can afford to lose this hour. And in the end, we could afford to have lost it. Mm-hmm. And then it was the funniest thing. I set the hook so hard.
I was dead, like dead asleep, dead to the world, dead to everything.
On a fish this big, on the largemouth this big on the spinnerbait. And dude, that thing stopped it. And I set the hook and it didn't want to move. He must have come up just through the weeds just right, or like right before it, and trucked it. And I must have hit the weeds too, because I set the hook and it didn't move. I didn't even get to say anything, and he's already on his feet with the freaking net in his hands. That was incredible.
Yeah, I don't know how I even. And then I saw it and I was like, oh,
sorry.
Come on. 5 more minutes, Dad, please.
All right, before we jump into it, that's actually my buddy right here, Fake Thriller. How drastically can fish behavior change based on the weather? One day is 40 and rainy, and the next day is 65 and sunny. It can change drastically, and depending upon which direction of that it goes, it can be a significant difference. So you could either, if you're going from like that really nice warm weather to cold weather, I've seen it go both ways, but more often than not, it ends up sucking when you have that kind of a cold front move through. But vice versa, a lot of that is dependent upon current time of the year and water temp. Because there's some days where that drastic difference fires them right up. But I would say more often than not, a drastic change like that from
right off.
Going cold shuts them off. Going warm, I would say more often than not, fires them up a little bit. But
going to cold can just completely just annihilate that bite.
Yep.
And they'll just go down the bottom and just sit there and be like, not really hungry right now. I mean, I'm starving, but I'm not going to eat because this temperature's bullshit.
Yeah. This weather's not to my liking. I'm not going to eat. Hey, Joe, and thank you. I didn't realize Jack was there. Did I realize that? I don't know. that whole weekend was a whirlwind, man. Between him being sick and just everything, like I barely remember anything that happened like during the tournament and the weigh-in until we got back and I could finally eat and just like sit down and relax, especially after like that hour in the middle of the day where I lost my business. But all right, we've been talking a lot without actually talking, so let's do the full tournament recap.
Day 1.
Start it.
We were boat 2. Couldn't see 2 feet in front of us because it was so foggy.
Yeah, it was
That
about the worst
run
fog I've ever been in.
was absolutely terrible. I was feeling not my best. And we took off, and for some reason, my mental compass was like, I don't think we're going the right way.
Sure as shit weren't.
Sure as shit, he's like looking at the thing. He's like, oh my God, we got to go this way.
I was a full 90 degrees off from the direction we should have been heading. Go on.
And so we were running maybe 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You could not see probably 30, 40 feet in front of you. And
We were honestly going too fast for those conditions.
100%.
I should have been like doing 20.
DJ was on our ass because he didn't want to like run into us or anything, and we were pretty much going to the same spot. And he kind of cut to the left of us and past us. His boat goes 9,000 miles an hour, and my head was on a swivel. He was paying attention where we were going, so we wouldn't run into any land or islands or whatever the hell was out there. And I was looking behind us, to the left, to the right, make sure nobody's cutting across, and it was kind of scary, to be honest. Like, it wasn't a very comfortable run out just because we couldn't see. And then we get out to where we were, and I don't really remember much because I was out of it. I just remember.
Yeah, what do you remember?
I don't really know. Day 1 is just a blur for me. I just remember seeing a lot of big fish.
We should have done this vice versa. I should have done day 1.
Go ahead.
So I remember day 1 vividly, and I don't want to remember day 2. Because, well, in all fairness, that one fish at the end of the day saved it for my performance.
Oh, yeah. Sure. And it helped.
The funniest thing about this tournament is we literally did the exact same thing that we did last year. We had a piss poor performance, although where we ended up on the scoreboard day 1 was much better than last year on a lake we know intimately well. And then day 2, we turned in one of the best bags of the whole freaking club out of everybody in the tournament on a lake that we've only fished now for the 4th time. And last year was only the 2nd time I'd ever been on it. It was pretty funny.
Alec, congratulations on the marriage, and I'm jealous you're in Aruba.
Congrats, buddy. So we had 15 boats for this tournament. It was supposed to be more. A couple of guys backed out. As Andrew said, we got boat 2, atrocious fog, talking to people at the end of the tournament. Turns out like half the field did the same thing we did. We all like left the ramp and thought we were all heading like at that right like direction. We'll call it like 45 degrees from the ramp, and everybody was more like 80 degrees going the wrong way. And everybody said that in the at the end of the day, like, oh yeah, we're running right across the middle, not up. But
Sketchy.
We had been out there the weekend before, kind of just scouting, but it was more trying different things. See if we can make that big bait stick. And it sure did the weekend before. That's for goddamn sure. And then I was trying like all sorts of random stuff. And the only thing that we found was like 3 key areas where like the fish we saw were stupid. And then a handful of other areas where you still saw big fish, but like in the 4 to 5 pound class. The other spots were like 6 and 7s. I'm not exaggerating. This is big fish. So pull up the first spot, short order. I get a 2.5 pounder and a jerkbait, made me feel good. And then a little rat smallie on the jerkbait after that, which I don't think kept.
I don't think it did either.
Andrew stuck his only fish of the day, another 2.5 pounder on a jig. This is in the first 20 minutes. So we're feeling good. We talked over with our buddy DJ and Alex the night before because we were all sharing the same Airbnb, and we were like, okay, well, where are you going to go? And it turns out our first spot we wanted to fish was the same spot. And we don't care. We're friends. So I was like, dude, you can strap your boat to mine. I don't give a damn. And he was like, same. So as luck would turn out, we were boat 2 and DJ was boat 3. But because of speeds of boats, DJ was 2 and I was 3.
Yeah.
But we got there, and it looked like it was going to be good after 20 minutes. And then it just died. And then I had to use the bathroom. So I had to run back to the ramp to use the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And literally as soon as we left, DJ and Alex stuck 4 solid fish. They had like, what'd they say? They had like 17 pounds on 4 fish.
Something like that, yeah.
In just like a quick boom, 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 boom flurry.
Yep.
The window was there and gone.
Yep.
And we missed it.
As soon as the fog cleared, the bite died.
Yep. And we fished around the ramp a little bit. I caught 2 more rat smallies that were keepers. They're like 13 and a half inches and fat. And just drop shot, like pulled out. It's nice and deep off the ramp. Looked down. I'm like, there's a bunch of fish here. Just give me 20 minutes. And in short order, I figured out what they wanted to eat on the drop shot. They wouldn't touch a Damiki. Pulled up those 2. And then literally the rest of the day until the last hour, we scrambled without a single bite. And talking to a few friends, they're like, yeah, no, this is about the worst I've ever seen this lake perform. Now at this point, again, started off with wicked thick fog. Water temps were 60-ish to start. They climbed to about little like 61 and a half after the sun had really come up and the wind started picking up. Wasn't bad. Actually, no, sorry. The wind was like nothing until literally like the last hour of the day.
Yeah, then I picked up to like
15, I think.
Yeah.
So choppy, but not brutal. And it was like, okay, well, it would have been nice if that showed up
could have used it
hours
7 hours
earlier.
ago.
Yeah, like the forecast that called for on my app, but it just never materialized. We tried everything. I had 14 rods on the deck, and I retied at least half of those multiple times. So when I say we tried everything, I mean we literally tried. I tried every single freaking. I pulled the bait out of every box that I had in the boat, and I pulled out multiple colors and variations of damn near every bait that I owned in the boat, and the boat was packed. So it wasn't like, you know, oh, you brought tournament baits to try. No, I literally packed as much shit as I owned as I could into my boat, left it all in there for the tournament, and dug through every single box I had with me. That's how deep into the bag of tricks we had to go. Finally, like by 1 o'clock, I was losing my shit because I was stressed, and I shouldn't have been because we were still having fun. It's a beautiful day, end of the year, fishing with my friends, but I was pissed because we only had 4 fish in the box. We actually had 1 smallmouth. We only had 3 at this point. We had 1 smallmouth that was starting to look real ugly.
Was that day 1 or day 2?
That was day 1. And I was not feeling good about it. So I looked at Andrew, was like, I'm going to chuck it. Because it was like a 13.5-inch smallmouth. I didn't want to sit on that if it died. Because you can't call dead fish. So while she was still alive, I was like, I was feeling good enough at that point. It was like 10:30 in the morning. And I was like, no, we'll figure it out.
Shouldn't have got rid of that fish. We shouldn't have got rid of that fish.
By like 1:59, I was like, I really regret throwing that fish back now. Because that could be a huge difference for us. And in the last hour, I looked up, looking at the eastern shoreline. It's just a whole series of docks, like pretty much everywhere on this lake anyway. But there's one section where there's a higher density of them. Good weed line out in front of it, pretty consistently shallow underneath everything. We had caught fish under all of these before already, like several times this year. So I was like, I don't know what else to do. I'm going to throw in an eco rig Senko. I'm going to go flip docks the rest of the day. And like literally the 3rd or 4th dock on that line, I stuck a 2.5 pounder. It's like, all right, we got 4 fish, and that's another good one. Not great, but hell, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. And then like 5 minutes later, I stuck another 2.5 pounder underneath another dock. And that was it. That was it for the whole day. We had 6 keepers. 5 of them were just good enough to land us in 5th place with a little over 11 pounds. So that, I mean, it was a kitchen sink day. And more so on day 1 than day 2 because just the weather conditions. Everything's slicked off. That place does not fish well for shit without any wind. It's weird. I don't get it.
Yeah, no wind, no fish.
Yep.
It's especially there. It's tough. It
And
can be tough.
Doesn't matter what time of the year either. Every time we go there, there's no wind. Those are the only days we've done really bad or worse. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was it. I mean, so I guess recap for the baits. Like we had a game plan for jerk baits and glides because actually we were there the last 2 weekends before the tournament.
Well,
and
you were. I was there the weekend before.
True. When I was there with my buddy Nate the weekend before that. And I wanted him to come up because he's just a big swim bait guy. And even though there's pike in there, he was like, I don't care. I'll throw the baits. So I was like, good. I want to see what somebody can do with a giant glide up here. What I saw was stupid. So I was like, okay. So we went up with Andrew and I was like, let's keep doing this. I've got my big glide now. I'm going to join in with this, but I'm going to keep throwing weird shit all day too because I had the highest degree of confidence that lipless, jig, jerkbait, maybe a crankbait, chatterbait, spinnerbait, like any of those things should have worked if the conditions were not as terrible as they were. And so I was just trying like all sorts of weird stuff, a lot of finesse stuff, a lot of big baits. And then come tournament time, it was glides, jerkbaits, jigs. That was like our game plan because for 2 consecutive weeks, the number of big fish that we called in and then caught was stupid. And it wasn't just one spot. That was the beauty of what we had found. It wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3 spots. It was literally every spot we pulled up on. We were calling out multiple 4, 5, 6, and even, I swear to God, we saw at least 2 that were 7+ pounds with those glides. Come tournament time, Andrew stuck to that glide like pretty much the whole day. And
Literally, I don't think I threw the jig maybe 1 or 2 times. Maybe once.
Yep.
After that, the rest I was just tossing that 250.
Without, I would say about 15 fish he called up to the boat throughout the whole day, and not a single one of them was under 4 pounds.
One bit it, but missed it.
That was it. That was the closest he got.
And that one was
6.
That
was
was
that one,
It was a high 6.
And then there you had the 6 and the 5 that came up in the same. Was it 5 or a 4?
No, that was definitely over 5. The first one was probably 6.5, and the other one that was literally right. They were doing this right behind it. Was over 5.
All I remember was that big one. I heard you go, oh, and I looked back, and I had eyes only for that giant. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we just need that one to bite, and that changes the whole day. So that's day 1. Water
That's how it goes.
got a little bit warmer throughout the day, but the deciding factor was no wind. And we fished literally from the bank to 55 feet of water. So we left no stone unturned. We covered that depth across multiple spots, hammered it like thoroughly. And it just ended up being dumb blind. Well, no, actually, game plan we had start the day panned out perfect. Jerkbait, jig, and then glide. 2 of the 3 things we throwing. Put 2 keepers in the boat. And then I got lucky with one of those fish on a drop shot later in the morning. And then just through dumb, stubborn persistence and a desire to not go in with less than a limit, had me slinging that Senko literally everywhere I could think of. And it ended up paying off in the end. Mm-hmm. And it just came down to, like, I have gone through A through X for options for what I wanted to do. And the one thing I didn't really try was throwing the stupidest, easiest, simplest bait to throw at the stupidest, easiest structure to pick apart, like, thoroughly. So let's go do that for the last hour because I am out of options here. And it ended up paying off. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Joe, yes, that would be awesome. I'll talk to Cam and John. Be like, let's go up there for November.
No.
Yeah, the place already blown up. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't need all those winning guys going up there.
No. Yeah, they wouldn't know what to do. I'm kidding. They would know what to do. Evan, so do you guys pre-fish for tournaments? If so, how many days before the tournament? Are you fishing or just graphing and looking for spots? You know this as well as I do because you've been with me for almost every single time. This is Evan. Oh, yeah, sorry. Let me scroll up a little bit on this so you can read that.
Pre-fish for tournaments? So many days before the tournament, you're fishing or just graphing? I'd say within a couple days of the tournament, if allowed.
If allowed, but that's rare for us.
Yeah.
Last year was about the only time in the last, 4 years I've been able to pre-fish sooner than the weekend before a tournament.
Yeah, and we're usually just graphing and fishing a little bit because we're on the water. We have our stuff with us. Might as well just see what we can get possibly. We're not grinding out spots to catch all those fish. Just be like, oh, okay, there's got to be a 5-pounder there somewhere, and just grind a spot to catch a 5-pounder. No, we catch fish, and if they're decent and they're there, and we're marking fish, we're marking bait. Okay, we're gonna go there. That will be one of the spots we're gonna hit that day.
Yep. Hey, that's especially the last 2 years. A lot of it's just graphing, like just getting out there, running the boat, do a lot of side imaging. Unless there's a couple of spots that I've predetermined are high probability areas, and I'll just run straight to those. I might do a quick pass of the side imaging, but I usually just drop the trolling motor, use a Mega 360, look around, get an idea as to what's there. But that would be for
see what the fish are holding too.
Yeah, and very clearly defined features like humps or really steep points or very pronounced points, things like that. That's stuff that you can just, with the Mega 360, pop right over the top of it and see everything in one shot in better detail than side imaging can give me, or at least a better lay of the land for what's exactly down there than side imaging can, and then piss off. And then depending on how the day goes for the number of spots I see fish, pre-fishing for day 2 of this tournament, which was Lake St. Catherine last year, I went out a few days beforehand, and I literally side imaged the entire lake And then I marked everything. I went back and looked at my map. I'm like, okay, so I literally found like 50 spots of fish, so that's good. But I remember like these 5 key areas seem to have like a high density of fish. Those are the spots I went back to and fished, and that's kind of how my approach has been. And I don't hammer on them. I just try and go catch 1 or 2, and it's just a matter of, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing in this depth of this structure. In this case, it's most likely smallmouth. So what are they going to want to bite? Is it going to be a Ned rig, Damiki, tube, like whatever? So I'll go through a couple of things, like the things I think are most likely to succeed, drop shot most of the time, drop it down, see what sticks, and catch 1 or 2 to get an idea for the size too, because smallmouth, you can more often than not safely bet when you pull up a fish, that's generally going to be the size of the fish you run into out there. Yeah. That's not like an end all be all.
A couple bigger ones mixed in there, here and there, or a couple smaller ones, but I wouldn't judge the size of the fish in the school off of 1 fish. That's why you got to go in and catch a couple of them just to get an idea of what they're doing. And those fish probably won't be there. Those same fish probably won't be there the next day because they do move around. They are in schools and they do move around to different spots. But like TJ was saying in the last video, he doesn't really chase them anymore. He lets them come to him now.
Yep. Like, yeah, you get those highest probability spots. Well, like they're always here. At some point during the day, they're here, and I know what class of fish comes here. They might be there when I get there, or I could sit here for 3 hours and wait for them to come to me.
Right.
It does pan out. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw that ourselves on Champlain earlier this year.
Oh, jeez, dude. Oh, my God. Just non-stop, 3.5 hours of catching fish, just one after another, 4-pounder, 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 4-pounder. Like, it was...
all 2.5 to 3.5. So then all of a sudden, I got a 4 whatever largie, and then you get that 4-12 smallie, and then another 4, another 4, another 4, another 4, and then I missed that. I dropped that 4+ smallie.
Yeah.
That jumped and spit my jig, and then we went back to 2.5 to 3 pounders the rest of the day.
It was crazy. It was really cool to see how those fish, like the size, just progressed throughout the I don't know, what was it? I think it was like 3.5 hours that we fished that literally one spot, one rock we were casting at.
That was nuts.
It was insane.
We digress, but that's spot on for what he just said, and an even better elaboration that you can't judge it by 1 or 2 fish. Sometimes there are bigger fish inside that school, but like if you drop down, you're seeing like a mega ball of smallies or what are most likely to be smallmouth, and you pull up, 2 8-inch smallmouth. The likelihood of you finding like a bunch of 3s mixed in there is not great. So that's when I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'll keep this in the back of my mind because there's at least fish here still, but it's just 1 or 2 fish and then leave. And you know what? At the very least, I figured out what they wanted to bite and how they wanted to bite it, and that's good enough intel. Because from that, with the amount of experience that we have now, too, we know how to adjust from that. If one bite fails, what's the next most likely thing to start throwing that we can be successful with? So there's that. And yeah, Joe said it perfectly. No wind, you can kiss all that goodbye. The worst. Absolutely spot on.
As long as there's like 5 to 7, should be good. Anything above that is even better. 20-30s, great.
Yeah. So there you go, Evan. Seem to do better not pre-fishing, just do my prep with studying maps and looking for any info I can find on the internet. That's what we're going to get to after we wrap up this recap of the whole weekend. We got day 2 Andrew's going to cover. But just kind of going through that whole prep process. If you don't have time to go and get on the water, that's okay. Because if you've at least put in enough time in the water in general anyway to have a good idea as to how to attack any body of water for largemouth or smallmouth, regardless of what the water temp is, then like it's just getting comfortable doing that. And if you can fish patterns more than you can fish spots, then you are much more geared to be successful than you are to go out and fish the same lake over and over again and understand spots, if that makes sense. It's you're fishing the fish, not the damn lake. Mm-hmm. And once you fish the fish, it becomes a lot easier to catch the fish. God, that sounds stupid, but it's accurate, so I'm not going to overthink it.
It does sound pretty dumb.
It does sound. Hey, you know what? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Or is it keep it stupid, simple?
Keep it.
Whatever. That's an actual phrase.
Is it really?
Yeah. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Don't kiss me.
Anyway, for anybody that's still here, obviously, thank you very much. We appreciate it as always. If you haven't done it yet, drop a like on the stream too. That helps more than you know. Anybody that's here watching this after the fact, leave a comment on the video with any other questions you may have we didn't cover, or just general feedback. Like, dude, likes, shares, and comments is a reason why everybody asks for that on their videos, because those are 3 of like the primary ingredients that helps drive traffic to your channel. So I don't just ask it for the sake of asking it. I ask it because we appreciate the help, and it continues to help us grow. So there's that. So day 2 of the Berkshire Bass Fall Classic.
It was fun.
For some.
Kinda.
Spoiler alert, I caught 2 fish. I caught one very early, and I caught one in the last 15 minutes. Okay, go.
Day 1.
The rest was him.
Day 2, sorry. We had a game plan. I already knew what I was going to throw because this lake, it just fishes the way that I like to fish.
Hold up. Thank you very much, Carla. We love you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mom.
For the donation. You the best.
Oh, I haven't even eaten the food that she gave me either, so that's dinner tonight.
Hey, my wife took over for
you.
you, by the way, on cookie duty for this travels.
They were so good. Sorry, Mom. They were really good, though.
You're not supposed to tell her?
Well, I just did. No shame. Sorry. I love you.
Anyway,
Day 2.
We should recap. How did we formulate our game plan going into day 2? Because
We
we
did
didn't
the same
pre-fish.
thing we did last year.
We're just like, we're going to go out deep for smallmouth.
Yeah, and we did. And guess
Where are you
what?
gonna go?
Guess what was
I
out
don't
there? Largemouth. What the hell? Shut up.
Sorry, Carla. Continue.
So-
I got to get...
We went out, and I was feeling a hell of a lot, well, not a hell of a lot better, but a hell of a lot better than I was the day before. I think I may have taken, I think I took 5, like, really hot, really long showers in 2 days, and got on the boat day 2, and I was like, you know, I'm feeling better. I took about 18 freaking Dayquil and pounded, I don't even know how much water I drank. And the whiskey helped a little bit the night before, even though I don't drink. But day 2 started off, I was like, you know what? Let's just go out to the spots that we know on this lake. And I kind of just want to throw a jig deep, see what happens. And got to the first spot. We kind of got kicked off the spot that we wanted to be, but we were like a couple 100 feet down the shore. And we were kind of working the edge of this point that kind of drops off steep into deep water, and it's kind of where I wanted to be, like the way that I wanted to fish it. So long bombing cast out into, I think 30-ish, 35, what was it, first spot, 30, 35 feet I was catching them out of. First cast.
Well, we specifically targeted 30 to 35 foot, but there's a couple of key features out there that were like...
It was like
25 to 28, I think.
It was like really good, like shelfy kind of, and like the grass ends, and then it was the shelfy stuff. And we were sitting on top of it and didn't realize that I was figuring something out like the first 5 minutes of the day. First or second cast was dragging up the shelf stuff, like waiting, drag up a little bit more up the rock, waiting, drag up again, and then thump. And that happened
3 times.
3 times in the first 20 minutes.
Yep.
I think.
In 20 minutes, you had probably about 8 pounds in your first 3 fish.
Yeah. And then I think it kind of died off after that a little bit, because then we started moving down that shoreline to that next good spot and kept throwing the same thing. I was throwing the jig the whole time. I did not want to be in the grass, though. I wanted to be on the deep side of where the grass cuts off to the rock. And anywhere that it was, when I'm looking on the 360, you can see the grass and you can see the kind of shelfy, shitty rock out there, and then it kind of drops off into black. I wanted to cast out towards the black and work up that shelf. And that's when they were biting it. Didn't realize that's what they wanted all day until the very end of the day.
The last, like...
Probably hour, 2 hours.
No, hour. Yeah, no. It was...
Hour and a half when we were up on that point.
It was late morning. Because we went over to the next spot that I wanted to fish, And it was kind of the same layout, but it was a little bit shallower. But it had that exposed ledge space, and you ended up catching another fish. But I don't think it was a keeper. And you were like, I did that like this morning. I hung it up on the ledge. I just let it sit.
Yeah.
And when I moved it, he thumped it. I was like, okay.
So it was like coming up over the ledge, but it would either catch while it came up because the jig wanted to kind of roll up over that, and I would just let it catch, and I would let it sit there. I would just hold it, and if nothing bit it, I would pop it up on top of it, and then they would either hammer it, or I'd have to sit there for another like 5 to 6 seconds, and then I'd just feel the thump, and they'd just be sitting there waiting for it. So I don't know if they were sitting on top looking out, or if they were sitting up inside of it, kind of like hanging out on it, or cruising by. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but it was working. Yep. So, and then I turned around and tossed it up shallow into, I don't know, 8 feet, I think. Yeah. 7, 8 feet.
But the one thing we could never determine was, because we knew there's vegetation up there, but we had no idea how far into, like, where it goes from, like, super thick to that little narrow window of it tapers off to nothing. Like, where did you land inside that? Because you were close to the edge.
I know I was in grass because I snapped out of it. And then I felt rock, and I was like, okay, we got the same somewhat situation, what's going on out on the shelf. And I was working it the same way. And all of a sudden, it was like one good thump. And I set the hook. I'm like, uh-oh. Which ended up being, I don't even remember how big it was.
4 pound, 1 ounce largemouth.
Was it 4 pound, 1 ounce? Okay,
yeah, it held up for the rest of the day. It ended up.
It ended up being 407.
4.07?
Yeah, the weigh-in.
Yeah, because when I weighed it, my scale had 4 pounds, 1 3/4 ounces. So if you call it, it's 4 point. Thanks, Sean. Like 4.1.
It was over 4 pounds.
4.11. So actually, considering how early you caught that in the day and how much we drove around with that thing, it didn't lose. It hardly lost any weight.
Yeah, none.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, I thought that thing was going to be. I was going to see 3 pounds on the scale when we weighed it for lunker. But we grinded that spot out at the very end of the day. I mean, the rest of the day wasn't really crazy productive. We really kind of just, it was kind of a dry spell there for a little while.
We had like another 3-hour window where neither one of us caught anything. And even at one point, this was right about noon, I remember saying to him, I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure, like, we know, because we saw DJ and Alex, who, by the way, were in second place.
I think
they were second place at day one with like just under 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then my buddy Tom and Paul were in third place, like 15 and change. We're in fifth with 11 something.
Yeah, first place had 26 day one.
Ridiculous. And then we talked to DJ. He's like, we've only got one squeaker. That's it. I was like, damn. Talked to Tom. He's like, yeah, we've only got 3 fish, dude. And I was like,
we're actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, we got 4 for like 14 pounds right now. We're doing pretty good. And then you ended up catching another one. But yeah, there was like a 3-hour window right in the middle of the day from between when he caught that 4 till we finally got, from like 11 to about 2 o'clock. Mm-hmm. There was that lull where nothing was going on. At one point by like 1 o'clock, we had already run through all of our most productive spots that we could fish because there's still plenty of boats out there. So there's 2 other spots I wanted to fish all day that we never actually got to fish because every time we looked at it, there was somebody parked on it. And I was like, what do you want to do? And we talked over and we were just going to go.
That one spot on that corner that had that deep rock, not pile, but rocky kind of shelfy thing.
Yeah.
It was that big sandy bank that had the shelf on the bottom of it.
Yep.
That then it tanked off to like, I don't know, 50, 60 feet or something. And we went over there and I started doing the same thing.
Yep.
Dragging up it. And at that point I was like, okay, that's gotta be what they're doing. So, and that was right before we went up and moved in a little closer and I caught that 4-pounder.
Yeah, and then we had that 3-hour lull, like nothing. By 1 o'clock, we're racking our brains, and I forget what we decided we were going to do. And we're like 3 minutes into it. And I was like, well, hang on. Let's just side imaging. Like, why go gamble on something when we can just, like, let's
spend... We went out to the middle. Literally the middle of the lake in, like, 50-something feet of water. We're just like, let's just go out there and just throw whatever. I was throwing a spy bait, which I got bumped on. You threw an A-rig, which you got smoked on.
No, underspin.
No, underspin that got smoked. Threw the A-rig for a little while.
But that was only after like 2
We were out
minutes
there
of
for,
side
like,
imaging.
half hour and just like, what are we doing? Like,
Well, we didn't know what else to do, and I was like, well, let's just side image here a little bit and see what we can do. And Andrew's like, let's go out like to the middle, because the one thing we haven't looked is like deep water in the middle and see if we can see them either on the bottom or suspended. We didn't move maybe 300 feet away from the spot where we first caught him in the morning. So all of a sudden it was like,
bait ball.
oh my God. And then we were marking like schools of fish and a couple of big fish. And I looked at him, I was like, fuck, I gotta shut it down. We only moved like 600, maybe 700 feet total. And we started just trying to work the middle. Like you said, spy bait. I had underspin. I did throw the Alabama rig a little bit. Vermont legal version, 5 total hooks, but only 2 real hooks, 3 dummies. And and I think I got bumped first on the underspin. I got thumped, and I was like, oh, and it never came back, and that was it. And then same thing happened to him with the spy bait. And then, after a half an hour, we're like, okay, never mind. We can't do this. Let's go back to the bank.
This isn't working.
And then, so at that point, that put us pretty close to 2 o'clock, and we went back to the spot. You caught the 4.
Yep.
And then that's when you were like, you end up catching another keeper, a final keeper.
Like 3 more then.
Yep, you caught a keeper. And you had mentioned, like, I was doing that same thing, hanging up on the ledge again. I was like, okay, noted. And I was continuing to throw a different jig from you this entire day. The entire day I was throwing something different, trying to make something else work. And then he caught another fish we culled by like an ounce or 2, the balance being barely shifted. Yeah. And then he caught a third. Now it's like 2:30. I'm like, okay, what are you throwing exactly? I should have done this hours ago, but and I said
thought
that
you were
to him.
throwing the same
No,
thing.
and he was like, just this and this. I was like, all right, it was a jig. Okay, I'll go that for it. It was a Beast Coast Fishing open water sniper, 1/2 ounce jig. You guys figure out the rest. And I was like, all right, fine. So I put that exact combination on, and I what the hell did I catch?
Second or third cast, you had that big smallie on.
I think didn't.
No, because you didn't catch anything until that fish.
That's right. No, you caught the perch. You caught multiple perch.
I
couldn't remember if
multiple
I caught
perch
a
on
perch or
freaking
not.
jig, and they're all like 1.5 pounds. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Funniest thing.
I set the hook like it was like a 6-pound largemouth, and the thing just comes ripping out of water. I'm like, oh shit. Sorry, dude.
Did I catch that fish right after? So we were fishing at that point. We were starting to finally slide down a little bit past the primary spot that he was figuring out, right? That exposed ledge face. And my buddy Tom and Paul were in front of us. We knew we only had 4 fish. We were just talking to them shortly before that. And they had been, every time I looked back, it was either them or another guy that was on this other spot I wanted to fish. And they had already turned around. They started working down the bank. And I'm looking at the clock. And like, we don't even have like 10, 15 minutes left of actual fishing time before we have to run. Right. So I just started sliding in behind them. I think we were probably like 300 feet from them.
Yeah, we
was about the buffer we were.
We weren't close.
No.
They were far enough away where when he caught that 4-pounder that he had caught, I couldn't really tell.
No, it didn't look that big at all.
No.
But so like, I mean, we're all friends, but I was still trying to give them a respectful distance because they were working it a specific way that I wanted to make sure they had that room, that I didn't encroach on whatever it was they were hoping to catch. And we watched Paul, like, I heard something, I look up, he's dancing around, rod's doubled over, friggin' Tom's going ape shit for the neck. And then
he's got a good one.
and we watched them both flip a nice fish. That ended up being their 5th fish of the day and gave them a 1.9 pound margin over us to take second. But with like 15 minutes left, we've been fan casting this ledge. Finally, I took a sharper angle and went way deeper. So I think I landed somewhere in like 40 to 45 feet. I went to go lift it, and I couldn't really feel my jig. It was like a really light spongy, and I just cranked down and set the hook and ended up catching a 3.25 pound smallie,
Something like
roughly
that.
that.
Yeah,
Best guess?
Yeah, I don't even. We didn't weigh any of our fish besides actually
the 4.
The 4, and
that
then
was
at the end of
literally
the day, it was right about where it was when we weighed on the boat. So
I literally have to look at a picture of the fish because
I think there was.
No, that's not. That's like maybe a 3, high 2.
Yeah, but they're fat up there.
Yeah, true. I don't know.
They're like St. Lawrence fish up there.
Well, that's right next
They're
to your
14 inches and 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, no, it's about a 3 pounder because that's right next to your 4. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, then that was another big cull because we culled out that like 15, 16 inch smallmouth that had been chilling, or no, largemouth. And he was okay, like he was kind of built, but he was small.
Yeah, he was small.
But it looked to be at least a pound
fish.
cull.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
it was definitely a pound cull for sure.
And then that was it. It literally came down to, at the end of the day, Andrew figuring out that little nuance that at least worked for us. And again, 14 rods on the deck for me. I threw everything. I literally spent the whole day throwing everything I could think of to try and figure out what the hell they wanted.
I can't figure out with 5 rods in the boat, I shouldn't be on the water.
If you're fun fishing, yeah. No, dude, it was just it was a grind. But then Andrew, like, that's the thing that we do really well, and we always have done really well, is when one of us does something that's just like, yeah, I was just dragging a jig. It was like, okay, I was doing this specifically when this happened.
We fish
we
the same,
talk
but we
about it.
fish completely different.
Yeah, but that's one of the best things about the two of us is that whatever you're doing or whatever I'm doing, the other can mimic without any issue.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing that's like that's beyond my comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. But yeah, just, once he figured it out, then once I pulled my head on my ass and was like, I really should just be throwing the same thing he's doing and doing the exact same thing and see what happens. Then ended up sticking only the second freaking fish of the day I caught. But Andrew carried us for day 2, and it was funny. We were joking about it the whole weekend and last weekend too. Like after day 1, me, my back. After day 2, Andrew, my back. That's why it's a team effort.
Yep, sure is.
He sucked it up day 1 because he was sick as a dog. I sucked it up day 2 because I was just an idiot. I had no excuse.
I was so upset. So we had a jacuzzi tub in the Airbnb.
Most
And I get up
devastating
there,
part of the
and
weekend.
I was so, like, just out of it. And I talked to John. I was like, John, can you please just show me how to do this jacuzzi thing? We get up, me and him go up in the bathroom. He turns it on. It's just, like, spitting out water. We're like, oh, my God, it's going to take 5 hours to fill. Whatever. I'll take another hot shower. I took so many showers.
Yep. But you made it through
worked.
it. It did.
Yeah. And the whiskey helped, too.
Yeah. No rum. Oh, wait.
No, I drank the whiskey.
Oh,
I
okay.
drank DJ's peanut butter whiskey or whatever it was.
I almost bought a bottle of that tonight, but I settled for my
It was
rum.
good. It was actually really good. I don't drink anymore, and you can ask anybody that knows me. I don't drink anymore at all. I stopped and moved on to bigger and better things. But that whiskey, I'm telling you right now, if you're sick as a dog, take a couple shots of whiskey, and it really does help. I'm not kidding. Yeah. I thought it was a myth. I had to try it.
Another question we had here from MD. How long do you fish a good spot before moving on? God, that
Like,
should be
what
an
makes
easy
it a good
question,
spot?
but that's loaded because it's so condition
Good
dependent.
spot as in structure, or good spot, the fish are there? Because if it's good structure but the fish aren't there, there's no point in fishing it at all. You sit there for 15, 20 minutes and you're not catching anything, get the hell out of there, move somewhere else. If it's a good spot, like as in there's fish there and you've been catching fish,
And there's a history of catching big fish there.
right?
I'll sit on that all day.
Yeah, I'll literally sit there all day. Put spot lock. Let's sit here for a while. Well, we've literally sat in one spot like 2-3 hours, haven't moved an inch.
Yeah.
Like especially that day when we took Dean out.
Yeah.
Sat in
Oh
that
my
one
God.
spot for 3 or 4 hours,
I forgot about that. Oh yeah. We hammered him on that one spot.
and they were all big fish too. Like it wasn't like, I mean, there was a couple like maybe 1 to 2 pounders, but the rest of them were 3.5 to 4 pound, I'd say.
Yeah. Most of them were in the 3+ range. And then there was a couple of 4s that ended up kicking out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just, there's a lot of conditions that go into answering that, but Andrew said it perfectly. And a lot of that is going to be dictated by the quality of fish that are sticking around. Right. That's going to dictate it. If we're seeing enough activity, or we just know that it's a spot, that it's a matter of timing. I mean, we've literally camped on spots for 5 to 6 hours. And especially when you're like the later in the year that we get, I hit something on the keyboard. Sorry. The later in the year you get, the longer we'll camp a spot because everything's moving a lot slower and they might not be specifically right there. And, when we say camp a spot, that doesn't always necessarily mean spot lock and don't move. That could also mean fishing within a 50-foot spot, but fan casting around that entire area, but just making slight adjustments to either get a little bit deeper or a little bit shallower up onto something or just hit something from a slightly different angle. So, dude, I mean...
Like, say this is a rock hump in the middle of the lake, and say it's topped out in 25 feet, and this is 60. We'll be casting up on top of this, down the sides. We start catching them down the sides. We'll start throwing stuff that swims down in this open nothingness where there's just open water. And we'll work the bottom up. We'll work from the top down to the bottom. We'll work literally the entire area, and even out to like 100, 200 feet away from that hump into nothing.
Oh yeah.
You just got to work literally every angle at every speed with every bait that you know how to fish and give it your best go.
And you know what's funny? Because you're 110% right. But that's the way we've transitioned into fishing a lot the last 2 years specifically, because our focus is primarily shifted to trying to be consistent in catching bigger fish. And it's definitely paid off. Like, I still don't have the number of big fish that I want, but I really can't complain with the number that we have this year, because that's been the biggest difference maker. Being slower, more methodical, having a better understanding of where those bigger fish like to position more often than not, and just continuously attacking it with a variety of baits from a variety of angles until you figure out what that magic combo is. And the only way you can really ever get better than that, get better at that, is through time on the water. Because it's not that often you go out and stick, multiple 4 and or 5+ pound or bigger bass and like multiple consecutive trips, unless you're really goddamn good or really fortunate. Just in here in New England, it doesn't happen quite that often. So to put that together, it takes a lot of time in the water and just that persistence to figure it out. But my God,
Takes time. That's for damn sure, and a lot of patience.
Oh yeah, if you asked us that same question 3 years ago, it would have been like, "What do you mean before moving on? We don't stop." And then, maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago was like that turning point.
We'd move around and be like, we were catching them over there. Let's go back over there. Okay, we'll go hammer that for a little bit. And if we're not catching anything for like 10, 15 minutes, then we're out of there.
Yeah. But then our focus changed from just like, I want to catch fish to like, okay, I want to catch a different class of fish.
Like, I'm sick and tired of catching 2 to 3 pound fish. Like, I want 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s. Like, I want those bigger fish. And I'm not sick of catching 2 to 3 pounders, but like, I would much rather spend 8 hours on one spot to catch one giant than catch 1 pounders all day. Like, it's just not. It doesn't do it for me anymore.
No, and it's unless we go through those dry spells. But yeah, you're right. Like we're out there.
Yeah. Sometimes we're like, all right, let's just go out and crack a bunch of fish. Like, we have this one spot that we can go to, literally throw jerk baits all day, any time of day, any weather, and they're gonna crack them. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
and there's giants in there, like big, like actual legit big New Hampshire giants in there, but they only bite. I've caught some pretty big fish out of there.
It's rare,
but it's
few and far
rare.
between now.
It's very rare.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's not. And we do fish those places because we know there's big fish in there, but it doesn't always happen like that.
No.
And to sit there and be like, oh, well, they're probably going to bite today. They might bite today. You never know until you get there and you start catching 100 1-pounders. It's like, okay, this is just, I don't really want to come here anymore.
Like, starts to lose its appeal real fast.
Yeah.
Why does that camera? Oh, right, because it's this TV.
Oh, Alec, by the way, just go to the docks and you'll catch some big fish.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot you were in Aruba. So that's like not only an answer to your question, but the whole recap for the tournament. So the last thing we wanted to cover was just general tips for tournament fishing in general, and what I want to do differently than the last time we did it, because we've already done a whole episode on this, and we went into like crazy deep, elaborate detail and everything, but I want to take a higher level approach to it at this point and kind of break it down into a handful of really key tips. And I do want to start this myself, because the single best tool you can have above anything else is the ability to be comfortable with being flexible. If you don't have a deep bag of tricks, or at the very least, you don't have a moderately deep understanding of different techniques to throw that cover you from deep to shallow, smallmouth and largemouth, and you don't have a willingness to at least try those things, dude, you're doomed more often than not. And that's an opinion I'll stick by. There are some anglers they've got one shallow water thing and they do it really well. I mean, Christ, there's a couple of pros that do that, but they don't always do well all the time. And it depends on what kind of angler you want to be. Like, if you have your comfort level, you want to stick with that, then all the power to you. I got no problem with that, as long you don't have a problem with it. But if you want, I guess, consistent success, dude, you got to be willing and embracing to be flexible. Because damn, does it rarely go to plan when you actually get out on the water. That's for true. You got to be able to just throw the kitchen sink when shit does not go to plan. And if you're not comfortable with getting away from like your top 5 favorite things to do, then I mean, you're going to be riding the struggle bus often. And I know that because I've seen it. I've heard dozens of different people talk about it. You hear the pros talk about it. I've lived that experience myself multiple times, which is exactly why we're in the situation that we are now with how much we know. Because I hated that. I didn't want to I love cracking on a jig and a spinner bait, and like top water, Carolina rig, Texas rig, that's all awesome, right? Who doesn't like big rods, big line, big baits, and just hammering them? But guess what? They don't always want that, and especially when you go from fishing largemouth your whole life to going to smallmouth, now you really got to change what you're doing. Especially you join a club, man. If you think you know something about fishing and you've never fished a club, fish a whole club trail for a whole year. That takes you all over your state into a bunch of different bodies of waters.
You'll learn a lot.
You will learn you don't know a lot.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. But if it's a good club with good dudes in it, they'll help you out.
Yep.
And we've fished in plenty of clubs where people will just tell you straight up what they're doing and how they're doing it, and good people.
Yep. And yeah, no, I can't add anything to that. That was very well said. So it's James, real talk. That 6 pound smaller the classic is absurd. Absurd doesn't cover it.
That thing had to have been 24, 25 inches long. That thing was ridiculously long.
When we walked up to the weigh-in and someone said, "Oh yeah, Jody's got a 6 point whatever pound smallmouth," I was like, "No way, that's not that big." And because I only saw a quick glance of it, and I couldn't quite tell how long it was. It didn't look like that thick or broad. That's the first thing I looked for in smallies up there.
Big.
And then I went around and looked. I was like, Jesus Christ, never mind. I take back everything I just thought.
Thing was huge.
It was dumb. It was so dumb.
Huge.
And that's the thing when you look at those big smallmouth, especially the 5s we've caught the last 2 years now, they don't get that long. They just get fatter and thicker. Like they literally become little circles. I mean, people call them footballs. They become very much like a football. Yeah, they're just circular from top to bottom, side to side, and from friggin' tip of the mouth to the tip of the tail. They're just thick. And this thing was still pretty broad all the way through, but it was the longest smallmouth I've seen.
Yeah, dude, that thing was huge.
That was crazy.
That was just a big, big fish. That was really cool to see that thing.
So that, at least when we're talking general tournament tips, that's the biggest thing. The more you become comfortable with being flexible and being willing to try different things and keeping an open mind and listening to what the fish are telling you, always gathering information about what the hell you're seeing and what's happening, what's changing with the weather, what the water temp's doing, what the wind's doing, that all plays into it, and being able to be flexible around that is by far been the single most important thing to our success the last 5, 6, 7 years.
You'll be better at fishing tournaments when you're not fishing tournaments.
Yep.
When you're out there fun fishing, that's when you're learning. That's when you're doing all the hard work of learning until it comes game day when you got to be out there and actually do it to cash a check.
Yep. And you need to figure out a way to capture that information too. I am blessed with apparently the only thing I can remember in my life is whatever the hell I do out on my boat. So 90%, actually probably 98% of the things that we learn and discuss after all these years, I can remember vividly. And we've talked about in the show multiple times. Andrew makes fun of me for it in a very good-natured way, about how I can remember the most random shit that has happened to us in years past, 5, 6 years ago. Hey, remember we were fishing that day? I'm like, oh yeah, you caught that 3.67, 23.92 inch largemouth on that jig in 56. You know what? Whatever. You get the point. But I can remember those details, so I don't need to take notes for the most part. But man, if you're not that fortunate like I am to recall all that information on the fly all year long for all those conditions, take notes. That is a very long-standing, good, solid practice that anglers have practiced for decades, where guys keep fish journals.
You're not gonna be the best pro angler in the world if you only know how to fish 5 baits.
Yeah. What the hell is that
certain
guy's
way.
name?
A certain way.
I was just saying.
There are some people that get lucky and they know how to work those damn baits that are like beyond me. But
Yeah.
if you gotta know how to work a bunch of different baits to be able to catch fish
Yep. I mean,
that aren't biting.
if you want to talk
tough.
about that in a more kind of broadly specific manner, if you can find a couple of baits that you're really comfortable with on top, middle of the water column, on the bottom, both fast and slow. Like if you have something that can cover all of those combinations, you're pretty much covered like and year to year, like beginning of year to end of the year. You can continue to expand upon that by all means, but if
You
you
can
got
always
really
get a bigger bite.
that's true. You can always cover. I mean, that covers everything. You got your fast stuff, both from top to bottom. You got really slow stuff from top to bottom. You've got stuff that doesn't move top to bottom. Like that. That's really the three ways to look at it. Super fast, really slow, not moving, top, middle, bottom.
I didn't mean 5 specifically, but I meant like if you go out and all you know how to
was
throw
elaborating.
is a Senko, a
Good luck.
spinnerbait. I don't know. A jitterbug. I don't like
Jitterbug.
if you only know how to throw like what your grandfather told you to throw when you were a kid,
Night crawlers.
you need to expand that.
Packing
Take
Newports.
take all that top water. Like if you're packing Newports and some natty daddies, I don't know, crack them open.
Oh, so these my pack of Reds, my
You gotta-
Marlboros, and my pack of Dillies.
If you first learned how to fish on top water,
Oh, and the Budweiser.
take that information and add it to everything else that you do. That's what I do. When I first started bass fishing, it was mostly jig. And now I take that information that I know how to work a jig and I kind of add it to every other bait that I work. Like, it's kind of hard to explain in words, but like, to me, a jerkbait is a suspending jig. It's the weirdest freaking thing in the world, but that's how my brain processes it. And it works for me. Or like a glide is just a big jerkbait. Or like, I don't know. A wake bait is just cast and crank. Like you got to find your own thing that gets that so you can learn it the way that you want to learn it, not the way everybody else is learning it.
Yep. Perspective. I have said this word 1,000 times because it means everything to me and it means something different to everybody else too, because that's what perspective is. And what you just said brings up an interesting point where you said to you a jerkbait. What did you just say? Jerkbait to you is like
It's a suspending jig.
jig. It doesn't matter how you make that connection. If you make a connection that makes sense to you, it could sound like the dumbest fucking thing in the world to somebody else. Doesn't matter. It works for you. You have made that connection that has helped you to not only understand from your own perspective how a bait should work, but it's in a way that you feel confident with because you've now connected with it in a way that you understand. And that goes for everything, not just fishing. That goes for life, your work life. Like, I have made so many dumbass connections in my professional career that I picked up from riding BMX. Like, what in the hell does riding BMX have to do with anything I've learned as a engineering manager or as a design engineer? I mean, to anybody that's not done it, you look at me like I was the biggest idiot in the world, because how the hell connect those two? But through a lot of different experiences in my life and the lessons I've learned through just actual riding or the travels it's taken me, the people I've met, the adventures I've had, like, I could make those connections that help paint a clearer understanding of what I should be doing as a professional, whether it's specific tasks in my job or how I conduct myself, both as just an employee or as a manager. And I remember telling that to one of my supervisors one year, and he was like, that doesn't make any sense. How can you make that connection? And I remember talking to my dad about it after the fact, and he was like, buddy, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for shit what they think. You made it work. It works for you. You had a positive result from it at the end. What the hell's the matter?
I'm dumb enough to buy a suspending jig. Thank you.
So it's just that you said that and everything about that, because that has been something that has guided a lot of aspects of my life for the last 10 plus years, trying to navigate the professional world.
Like, that's how I think about everything, though. Like, my brain just feels like a bunch of mush, and then something clicks, and it's like, oh, that works for me.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a skill in and of itself that not many people can accomplish or contain. Like me being able to just speak normal English. Can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
Joe had a great point here too. Being able to table history, but use that history of reading conditions and fishing the moment that specific day is what separates the best, in my opinion. Yes. Say it again and louder for the people in the back. Absolutely spot on.
Being able to... Oh, you were joking.
So those were a couple of really big points. The next one is just as important as one. This is like 1A and 1B. There is an insane amount of prep work that can be done leading up to a tournament without ever going on that lake. And a lot of that is just from understanding your experiences from all your time in the water previously and looking at a depth chart of the next lake. The last pieces of the puzzle that you would need, for me, that I feel are key information when you get there, is understanding water clarity and what the water temp is. And obviously you're only going to get surface temp, but that's all anybody goes by anyway. So as long as you understand, okay, I know what time of the year it is. I've paid attention to the forecast, so I know what the weather is doing leading up to and during the day of the tournament. Now I know water temp and I know water clarity. So water temp gives you everything else that you can't find out online. It gives you a better idea of understanding what state of activity the fish are most likely going to be in. And then water clarity gives you that other unknown. What color bait should I have tied on? More often than not, like different times of the year, like if it's really, really early, really, really late, I really don't give a damn what the water clarity is. Black and blue works best for me more often than not. So if I'm going in blind and want to try and just save myself a step first thing in the morning, that next, for the morning of the tournament, I'm already going to have that tied on because I don't give a damn what the water clarity is. Middle of the summer, different story. Depending upon water clarity, like that's very important to me. Water temperature is another big thing. Granted, depending upon the time of the year, you already have a pretty good understanding. Like, you're talking like June, July, August, like really July and August. You already know what the water temp's going to be for the most part. It's going to be hot. So that should already help you. Then there's the nuances that you'll never be able to find out until you actually get on the water. But if you already have an understanding of what baits are most likely to succeed based on water temp, if you're going for largemouth or smallmouth, what depth you're going for, and then whether or not there's vegetation present, you won't be able to find out till you're there if you didn't have time to pre-fish. But you should have something on to be prepared for that ahead of time anyway. But there's a lot that you can do leading up to all that, just reflecting back on everything you've done off the water. And then looking at a damn depth map of the lake. You should be able to put together so much information between looking at a depth chart and then looking at just satellite images of the lake too. Because, and we've gone over this in the past too, Google Earth and being able to go back in time to different years for satellite imagery, which helps show the overall progression and regression of any vegetation in the water. Obviously surface temp stuff or surface vegetation only, unless it's a really clear body of water with a bunch of vegetation that comes right up to the surface. That stuff you can sometimes see.
There's even man-made structures.
Yeah, like
Anything.
There's a lot that you can do online, and that's the 1B. Do as much as you possibly can. If you didn't spend a couple of hours exhausting every single avenue of every piece of information available to you on that body of water, you didn't do the best you could to be out there, shy of being actually on the damn lake. Yeah. Utilize every online tool, 1B, and just use that plus previous experiences to put together a general idea of what you're going to use to attack that body of water the next day. Once you get water temp when you get there, you have a much clearer image. Once you get water clarity, you have the clearest image. Then dude is just going out there and rely on that experience of, yep, okay, in these conditions, I usually do this. And hopefully I can find other areas inside the lake that allow me to replicate those previous experiences. But at least I know that's kind of the general area I'm looking for. That has been extremely helpful for us. Literally what we did day 2 of our tournament. This year and last year.
Yeah, I was like, I just want to go fish jigs deep.
We
because
finished.
it's fun.
Dave, I saw you were here. How many people were in that Pawtuckaway tournament this year? We finished second place in that tournament too. Literally only the third time I've ever fished there in my life. Second time he's fished there. 2 of the 3 times I've been there, tournaments. The only 2 times he's been there, tournaments. We finished 3rd last year. No, 4th last year. We finished 2nd this year. We missed the tiebreaker on Lunker last year, and I got Lunker this year. So, and literally everything that we just talked about from point 1 to point 2 drove all of that success in those tournaments. We have 15 boats. There you go. Second place out of 15 boats in a lake I've been to 3 times in my life.
That place is cool.
It is cool. They told me they're not going back this year.
That's fine. We can go fun fish it.
That's true.
Place is cool.
Yeah, I do enjoy going there.
It's different. It's the same. It's like what we like to fish, but it's different.
Same,
Same.
but different.
But different.
I love that movie. So there you go. Those are the 2 biggest things off the very top that I can say about being prepared for tournaments the more comfortable you can get with just being open-minded, coupled with your willingness to put in the time that you can. Obviously on the water is the best you can get, but dude, like, we've done so well just looking at satellite images and then reflecting back on everything we've known about fishing that time of the year and other bodies of water, but because we're so well traveled now. I mean, granted, a lot this year we've been going back to like a couple of lakes a little more often than usual, but you look back at the last 10 years, holy shit, we have fished everywhere.
10 years? Holy crap.
I mean, even if you only go back 5 years, the different bodies of water all over New England, excluding Maine.
Every single one of them? Like,
seriously, man.
Not every single one, but I mean, I couldn't even put a number on the lakes that we fished.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire alone.
Oh, God. The number of places we've explored in New Hampshire and Mass just alone in the last 3 years is absurd. And then you throw in Vermont. Now, Vermont, we've only gone to like 7 or 8 different bodies of water now.
Maine?
We still haven't. Well, I've been once. But that was supposed to be for this year. And you know what my problem is with Maine? For us, where we are in New Hampshire, to get to Maine.
Weird-ass accents.
We have to come back down 95 to get back into New
sucks.
Hampshire. I do not want to sit in that traffic.
3 hours of traffic on 95 is not okay.
And as far as I know, though, because I've done at least a portion of it.
405 at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, to get around that crap, by the time you get off the highway, you have to go. You're like so much further north that it's like 6 one, half of us another. For like, you're spending the same amount of time behind the wheel. It's just you're either going way out in the middle of friggin' nowhere before you finally get back into New Hampshire and come back in and catch up to the highway on 101, or you sit in traffic to go to that same point. And I just don't want to deal with that. Versus when we go fish northern New Hampshire, 93 south in New Hampshire from exit like 17, just north of Concord.
4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, dude, drive up is great. Drive home sucks. But at least when we're coming home from like Lakes Region, New Hampshire,
Which is an hour and a half.
I pull up maps. Yep, nope, guess what? Traffic sucks right at exit 16. We're off at 17. We drive the extra 20 minutes of back roads the whole way home, and it's a breeze. But that dumps me out right in our hometown. Mm-hmm. Can't do that coming home from Maine. Nope. No matter what you do, that drive's going to suck.
At least we got a nice, fancy, new, comfy truck to sit in.
That's true. I love that truck.
Heated seats, baby.
This winter fishing thing is going to be so much more tolerable between the 2 buddy heaters, and you got to get your FXR insulated gear.
Oh, by the way, I got some nice FXR boots today for free.
Did you really?
Yeah, from work.
Must be nice to
Chris
have
came
these
up and
dainty
was like,
little
"Do
feet.
you want these?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
You know, ours is defined like good boots. We have a size 14 foot. Spoiler alert, it sucks. My wife did buy me some
It's
excellent.
a big problem. Hit me.
Puns. That's my job. Anyway, what else for tourney tips?
Big socks.
Big-
Sorry. That thing's in your eye. Look out. Tourney tips. Don't suck.
Donk swamping. One of the biggest things I've learned over the last few years is to figure out what the fish are doing that day, not what they are supposed to be doing based on the bass fishing handbook.
Correct.
Exactly. What the bass fishing handbook tells you is, yes, what they should be doing. It is a general guideline. They're not doing that
How you do with that
more
book?
often than not.
Throw it out.
But it at least points you in the right direction of where you kind of should be heading. And it's one of those, like, here we go. Perfect point. It's going in from that comment into, I guess, point number 3 for tournament prep stuff is you got a tournament going in blind. Really have no idea what to do. You have all your historical information from previous experiences. You have the information you found for everything online. Now what? Identify 3 or 4 key areas that kind of cover the max ends of the spectrum for where they're most likely, like highest degree of probability, going to be and what they're wanting to eat. You're talking in the middle of the summer, I'm going to find 2 really shallow spots, a lot of lily pads, and then maybe some slightly deeper, juicy looking stuff that I can find from like contours and stuff, right? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to identify a couple areas that cover both ends of the spectrum, from what I think is most likely to be the deepest point of success to the best shallow areas of success. Same thing within the spring. When you know they're starting to transition out of that deep up to the shallows, I'm going to find 3 areas with the steepest banks or really nice submerged points. And those are the first areas I'm going to key in on. You don't have to catch fish. Wow.
You all right?
To know if they're there or not, you can just pull up, drop your tow motor, and as long as you have some form of sonar, you can tell right away whether or not there's fish there. You know, the bait fish are at least going to be active in that area, especially when you're talking early spring, like just after ice out. Dude, they stack up. There's like focal points for them around different lakes, and it seems to be pretty consistent with every lake we've been to, where it's like nothing for 80% of the lake, and all of a sudden you go down this one stretch of a steep bank, and it's just bait fish, top to bottom, from like 50 feet wide, from the bank out.
90% of fish sitting 10% of the lake.
Yep. So and that's the biggest thing. Like, okay, I know from all my experiences they should be doing any one of these 10 things. And based on the map that I found, I have 20 different opportunities that should potentially work out. Well, the step 3 is going to be, all right, for my shallow spots, 1, 2, and 3, those are the 3 best looking spots I think are going to pan out. And for deeper stuff, 1, 2, and 3 are the other spots I think are also really going to pan out. And they're all similar, but just slightly different enough. You know, my deep might be, if it's a lake that's out to 30 feet, I've got a spot that's, you know, like my 20 to 23 feet, my 23 to 25 feet, my 25 to 30 foot range. You know, it doesn't, obviously not that specific, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say, right? There's just subtle differences between the 3 that might be it. And then, depending upon what you get for a draw number, you can decide which one of those 3 to 6 spots you've identified are the ones that you want to gamble on running to first and make your decision from there. And then we've done that often enough. Okay, they could either be really shallow or really deep. Well, this time of the year, we want to do this. This spot looks good. Let's gamble on this for spot number 1. If we can't go there, then, you know, and we still want to fish shallow, we got spot 2 and 3. And if that all else fails, or if spot 1 is our only shallow spot, we're going to go to spot number 1 of our deep shit. We'll try that next. Mm-hmm. That's literally what we did at the Pawtuckaway tournament this year, and that worked out.
Yeah, it did. Worked out pretty damn well. But most importantly, guys, just got to have fun.
If you're not
It's
having
really
fun,
what it is, though. If you're not
there.
having fun, you're not having a good time, it's going to suck. You're going to fish like shit.
Yep.
It's plain and simple. It's what happens. When you're fishing by yourself, I think, well, not the only time, but the only time that anyone else has ever seen me get very frustrated. You were there that day on your boat with John. I broke the rod over my knee.
Yeah, where the... Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that day.
That day.
That rainy day.
I could not. If I was seeing fish, I could have caught him. If I wasn't in my own head, for some reason that day, I was just in my own head. And I lost my marbles. And I broke a rod over my knee, threw it in my boat. Jerkbait got stuck in my sweatshirt, and I almost jumped off the boat to drown myself. I'm pretty sure I just got it, like loaded my boat up and left. I don't remember, but that was tough. That sucked, and I learned from that mistake. Don't get in your own head when you're fishing. If you are in your own head, take 5 minutes, chill out, do whatever you got to do to get out of that funk and continue fishing. If you can't, just get off the lake because it's bad for your health.
Damn right. And it's funny because after the tournament, I texted my dad. My dad was the one that taught me how to fish to begin with, right? And I was really happy with how well we did for the weekend. I mean, you want to talk about, like, we already said it earlier, you want to talk about team effort? That was as team gets. I caught 4 of the 5 fish on day 1. He caught 4 of the 5 fish on day 2. And it just, but we're fortunate that it ended up working out like that. But regardless, it was like outside of the 1 hour window on Saturday where I was trying to keep my cool, but man, I was just frustrated. I let it get the best of me, but then I calmed down. And then I caught a fish shortly after I mostly calmed down, and that was just like, okay, I don't care what happens the rest of the day. I'm back in a good spot. Even if I skunk the rest of the day, I feel good. I got past my little downfall. Everything's fine. And we had a blast all day Sunday. Like, I was still in good spirits literally the whole day, even though I was getting my teeth kicked in, just because I was having fun. And that's the important thing I remember, because that's what it's always been for me. And you know what? We dealt with one of the worst days of fishing we've ever had on that lake on Saturday. We still came out pretty good. So and we stuck it out literally until the last minute.
It also helped. We had a lot of friends there, and we're rooting for them too, hoping that they got a good bag, and they did, which was awesome. Super stoked for them.
Yep. But yeah, I texted my dad when I got home, and I told him that we did, because I was proud of it, and I was really proud of what we did. And he was like, "Hell yeah, that's awesome." Now I got to ask you, did you have fun? Because if you didn't have fun, then it's a job, and if it's a job, you got to reevaluate what you're doing out in the water. And I thought it was funny, and not in a negative way, like a genuine, like, good-hearted, like, funny, like, that's my dad looking out for you, making sure I'm still having fun, even to this day, 37 years old. Texting right back, it's like, you better bet your ass I had an absolute blast, with the exception of that one window on Saturday. Man, I live for this. I do. Probably 15 years ago, I used to get, like, not scared nervous, but you know what I mean, like, a bad nervous about tournaments, because it was like, oh man, do I know enough? Like, I didn't know enough back then. And I was questioning it back then. I thought I did, but I know now that I didn't. And it was like, this should work. If that doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll just try and figure it out. And I barely slept the last 2 nights leading up to this tournament weekend, because I was so jacked up. And part of it was because I had a high degree of confidence in what we could do out there. And just the other half of it was, I don't care what tournament it is, how much money is involved, how many boats are there. I love competing.
It's fun.
Oh, God, I love every second of it. I can't get enough of it.
I like to win, but if I'm not winning, might as well still have fun.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 times we fished on Winnipesaukee, we got our teeth kicked in. We still had fun the whole time.
Yeah, we had fun. The lake still sucks, but we had fun.
with the exception of the ride back. That sucked. But everything else about those 2 tournaments was great.
Then?
Oh, it's always choppy on Winnie.
Oh, yeah, that was
It's just...
That was fun. I just can't stand all the people. If you love Winnie, have fun. I cannot stand all the people on there. I don't like being around people. The expos are pushing my limit. And that's all I can say.
You had fun at the last expo.
Yeah, I wonder why.
You just know how you gotta... Yeah,
I gotta report, yes.
You know exactly how to handle it.
It was fun. I sat on that board and I flipped jigs all day.
We're doing that again. We're gonna, like, properly organize that.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Dude, we're only like
a couple months away.
God, we're 3 months away from the New England Expo. We gotta figure that out fast. I don't think we're doing a booth this year, but I gotta talk to Dan and make sure we're up there for doing a talk again. We'll make that happen.
Wow, you went way back and watched that video, the Highland Lake first place.
Oh, I didn't even get there. I was going to talk about David first. My 2 tourney tips. You can fish how you want to fish, but don't be scared to fish out of your comfort zone. 2, eat. Don't starve yourself and lose focus. Man, I ain't got time to eat. I'm too busy fishing. That's the way I've been. That's the way I've been since day one. I am like the only person I know of that just goes out and fishes for 10 hours straight without even touching a water bottle or any food. Meanwhile, he's had 3 full, like, 9-course meals on the boat by 12.
My wings up there. Pass them back, please. Thank you. Water? Thanks.
And Evan, all he's really got to do is watch a 603 YouTube video, Highland Lake, first play. Yeah, that was Andrew and I's... I don't think it was our first win, but it was one of our first ones. One of our earlier ones.
That was a long time ago. That was like a really long time ago.
Yeah.
I think I had just started at SVM then. Because I remember I was wearing an SVM shirt in the picture.
Yep. I actually had to go back through the post and see when our first tournament win was together. That may have been it.
I think that might have been it.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ryan said, my biggest thing is don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Fish your game. When I'm getting skunked, I fall back to a natural presentation. Drift and drag. Yep. Spot on. Yeah, true, Andy. Witty boaters not all are like that. Just most.
I'm talking about the bass boat guys. No. I'm talking about the people that like to come in within 10 feet of your boat with a wake boat and be like, hi, you catching anything? Not fucking anymore. Trying to catch my balance, damn it. Jesus Christ, get away from me. But that's on everybody, big body of water, so can't really blame that place, but
Without exception.
anyway.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, those were the big ones.
If you're nervous about going to fish tournaments and you've never fished one before, just go do it. You got to get the first one out of the way anyway, so might as well just go do it and just have fun with it. It's just you might be spending $100, you might be spending $50, whatever. You got to do it.
Yeah.
And who knows? You might get first place. You could win $400 or $500 or a couple $1,000s. You never know.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, if you've got the money to piss away, think of it like gambling, because that's really what it is almost. To an extent. It's right at the end of the day.
It's waffling.
It's waffle, not raffle. Just know you're going to go piss away $50, $100, whatever it is. You know, like, just go into it knowing that, like, I'm out here to have fun, but today I'm paying for it. And just hope it sticks out, you know, at the end of the day, and just go out and fun fish. And when it's your first couple of tournaments, it's easier to say now than then to not overthink it. But seriously, don't overthink it.
Every tournament fisher has been through it. Everybody's been through that nervous, like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess this up and this is gonna suck. I don't know what I'm doing out here. Just go out and fish and have fun. That's what we do now. It's you get over that like nervous kind of like, oh my God, this is stressful. Unless you're actually fishing like an actual real big like you're going for the opens and you're trying to do some crazy shit with your career.
Right, yeah.
But
in which
that's
case
different.
You already you know more than we do if you're at
Yeah.
or you just have a shit ton of money
That too, yeah.
to gamble away. But yeah, if you're going for that level, you're not listening to us, or again, you just have more money than sense. But all the power to you, however you do it. But yeah, dude, like just your first tournament, you're going into it, have fun with it, because it's just in a pure adrenaline rush all day.
It is. It
You'll
really is.
probably learn something. You'll probably meet a couple of good people. You might meet a couple assholes, depending on what kind of club you get into. If you get into the MVBA club, it's
All
just
good
nothing
guys.
but good dudes.
All good dudes.
Cheap money to get into. Just like, and they're all so freaking friendly and talkative. Like, no, does everybody give up the juice? No, but most of those guys talk about damn near everything they did for the day. So it's good if you want to go out and learn stuff. There's plenty of clubs that, geez, you'll come out of it worse for wear than you were before you went into it. And there's other clubs where it's be the best damn thing for you ever. So you can't. Merrimack Valley Bass Anglers is MVBA. So, yeah, man.
Like he says, David literally says it. It's literally no pressure, all fun, and
Yep.
a chance for ice cream money. It's a good time. It's a great group of dudes. Every single one of them is awesome.
Yeah. And then there's that, South Jersey. I would just do it for the experiences. I've never fished on a bass boat. Wouldn't even be thinking about winning anything. And that, dude, that's the other half of it too. It's just all experience. And like Andrew said about the way we fish now, where it's just all fun fishing, it is that. I mean, we're just out there having fun, but we're learning while having fun. Like, yeah, we go out there and we said it all summer. Like, I'm going to keep throwing this jig because they're going to keep eating it. And it's great. I'm going to throw a bunch of other things because I think other things might work in this, and that's the learning aspect. But I'm only going to force that for so long before I realize this is not working. But if I throw that jig again, I'm going to stick another 4 or 5, and I'm just going to have fun. But I did put in my time to try and learn, and we still learned a shit ton this year. So there's always, dude, we're either learning or having fun, and 99% of the time we are learning while we're having fun. Tournament's no different.
Nope.
You're just gambling money.
Yeah, you're fishing for money at that point, and it's really not that big of a deal.
No, but I think from our multiple experiences, we've gotten to that point to be so, I don't know, just not cavalier, just laid back about it.
We're just comfortable with it because we've done it so goddamn much.
Yeah,
It's just another day fishing then.
And that's the point I've always wanted to get to, is like, do I want to go out and pre-fish 2, 3, 4 days for these big money tournaments, but like I said it to him, we're going into this.
We have our normal jobs. This isn't our job.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we do this and it's fun. We enjoy doing it.
Joe, it absolutely is an addiction. Although you're at a much higher level of addiction for tournaments than we are. But that was, like the last 3 years in a row, at least for me, it's been a battle between not having the time that I feel I want to be able to go give like a specific club like an actual earnest try. Because for something like that where it's a lot more money and I'm committed to it, I would like to be able to put time into it. I didn't have the time before. I do now. With this new job, I finally have time to do it. So we'll see what this year brings. But then it's the same thing. Like literally every spring, the last 3 years in a row, we sit down, we talk, and ultimately we're like, yeah, would fishing that whole trail be fun? Probably. But then, you got to fish Winnie twice, and I'm just not all that cracked about that lake just because of the traffic more than anything. Both the freaking lake traffic and the drive home sucks. And that takes a little bit of the fun out of it. But then the other half of it is like, or we could just keep going traveling and having fun and learning.
Is way better.
But then the moment we get back into a tournament, I'm like, I wish we had fished those tournaments all year. Dude, as soon as we got in that Pawtuckaway tournament, when I got home, I was like, shit, I really wish we fished all those other ones now. Because I'd love it.
It really is fun. But I also don't want to overdo it and get bored with tournaments.
No, but that's where I think, like,
We do
the way we've been doing it works.
It's fine.
We've got the one fun one with Berkshire. We'll dabble a little bit in Ben's. I mean, I'm doing the Ben's tackle tournament this Saturday.
Yeah, sorry, Dan, I can't make it. I got to work.
But that's the other half of the reason why we brought all this up, too, because I'm literally going to utilize all these tools for my tournament this Saturday at the Ben's Tackle Tournament at Quabog Pond down in Massachusetts. There was something I wanted to do tonight that now it's way too late.
You want to use this?
No, there's pike in there. You don't want me using that.
No, I don't.
When I found that out, it changed it. But anyway, so like a lot of this too was because I'm already going through all these things mentally.
I'm just going to tell you
for a
what
lake
Oliver
I've never
told
been to.
me.
I have no time to go to.
I'm going to tell you what Oliver told me.
Don't
be a bitch.
Okay. You know what? The pond is too damn shallow to throw my bait sanity.
You got those.
They're too small.
They're not, though.
It's a 7.5-inch glide. I'm saying it's too small. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Whatever. I wouldn't do it either.
We'll see. I got some other ideas, but I've got other baits that'll be perfect for that body of water. Anyway, how was I going to say? Oh yeah. So a lot of this also plays into the tournament I have Saturday because I'm going into a lake I've never been to. I know next to nothing about, and I have zero time to go prepare for it. So I'm doing everything I can online to make myself be prepared for what I'm going into. The only thing that I did ask information for was from two different people. One was Dan, one of the event organizers for this at Ben's Tackle Shack. Just what's water clarity? And he told me that. And he ended up giving me more pointers on the rest of the lake anyway. But I just wanted to know water clarity. And then I asked another buddy, I said, are there any obstructions there I need to worry about when running the lake? He said, no, everything's safe. Even if you go like outside the main lake up the river, you're good. Just stick to the middle. That's all I need to know. I'll figure out the rest. It's not like that's not arrogance. That's mostly confidence, but more than anything, a desire to continue to test myself. So right now I'm fishing this tournament solo. The thing I was going to say was, I wonder if we should raffle off, like not have people pay, but for people that'd be interested, raffle off the back seat for Saturday.
Go for it.
Too late now. I should have done that. I meant to talk about it yesterday so that we could plan ahead and talk about it, post about it, and then have it open. But, yeah. Anyway, at this point, I'm just going to fish it solo. So yeah, I'm going to utilize all these tools for a tournament this weekend. It's going to be tough as nails because it's going to be a shit ton of boats for a 580 acre pond.
How many boats are on it?
33 right
Oh
now.
my God, we're 500 acre lake.
If they don't open South Pond, if Dan's trying to work with the town to get them to open the gate so we can access South Pond, that is going to be brutal. It'll be bumper boats. I'm going to be casting between people all day. Sorry. Oh, there's one question here I missed from Ryan. What bait? All right, last one, then we're going to wrap this up. What bait do you pick up when the bite shuts off on Derby Day and you have to grind it out?
Jig.
No.
What do you mean?
Senko.
Yeah,
When the bite shuts off, you got to grind it out. I'm picking up a Senko on Derby Day.
I'm still picking up a jig.
Or a glide.
Well, then that's why I pick up the Senko, because you're still going to pick up the jig regardless. Someone's got to pick up the Senko, and I don't want to. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not in favor of it. But that's literally what I do every time. When it gets down to brass tacks, like, it's shit, man. We got 2 hours left. We ain't got a full box. Pulling up the Senko. I'll pull up 2 rods of Senkos, and I'll just sling the shit out of that thing because it works. And it saved my ass more often than not on days where the bite just dies. Because they'll still eat that stupid stick bait.
I'm with Jerry. I can't do it.
Good, because you probably have your 8-pounder if you were, and I'd be mad.
I don't want an 8-pounder on a Senko. At all. If
You
I
say
had,
that.
If I had a 9-pounder come up and look at my Senko, I'd just be like, snip.
No, he's wrong and he's lying.
No, I'm not.
If you had to wait as long as I did to break your PB, or I had to wait 11 goddamn years before I reset it, and it wasn't like I went from like a high 6 to a low 7. No, I went from 6 1/4 to 7 3/8. And it was because of the Senko. You wouldn't have a problem with it, especially given the context of that catch, where I literally have the video, 13 minutes from the moment I saw that fish till she bit, and I threw everything I had on the deck, and I went to the Senko dead last. And I said, okay, I tried everything else.
If this
I
works,
don't want this to work, but I'm going to throw it because it's already ready. And like second or third cast, I stuck that 7.5.
I don't know.
Given context,
if it's on a bait
you would not be upset.
Probably be fine.
Oh, shit.
Dude, you know how terrified the entire time on a spinning rod catching an 8-pounder would be?
How do you think I felt my 7.5?
All set. No thanks. I'm good.
I mean, it was 10 to 10 from braid to, but like, and it was on that 6.9 medium heavy fast rod, so it's a stout rod. But like the whole time, like you watch the video, I just stopped speaking. I'm just like trying to control my breathing. And then the whole time in my head, I'm going, ah!
I don't know if I would want to do that. That doesn't sound fun at all.
Dude, it was like the most exhilarating, frightening thing of my life.
That's like anxiety, like worse than I already have.
Well, and especially the fact that, like, if I remember correctly, I set the hook like a drop shot. Like, I don't think I popped it. I think I just leaned into it. I'll have to go back and double check. I don't remember that.
You kind of leaned. You kind of did like a.
Yeah. So like, not really set.
Right.
Not like a jig hook set. So like Like, did I set it hard enough? Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
Ah! Get up here! All right. Well, just go fish tournaments. They're fun. If you never have.
Good luck.
And if you have, keep doing it.
So I guess the last most important point that Andrew forgot to tell you was that there is a essentially consultant fee. So for anybody for the next 2 years that wins money in tournaments that you watch this, you are now contractually obligated to give us 25% of your earnings. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. It's the way it's got to be. Evan.
Dude,
okay, this is the last thing we get to talk about.
Viewers from that. I'm just kidding.
All right, very last thing. Do you see a 603 Real Northern Bass tournament trail in the future? Yes. I don't know how the hell we're going to do this. It's something I've been giving thought to for several years. But the thing I've had for an idea in the back of my head is something in New Hampshire, but I want it to be like a big and proper event. And New Hampshire Bass Nation does a phenomenal job right now of running pretty big events anyway. But I want to do this somehow different from everything else. And I want to make it so that anybody that shows up that has a chance to potentially win this. I'm talking like shut off for 2 weeks, no pre-fishing. Mm-hmm. The hardest part about that's going to be enforcing it. But like, I want like anybody, even the working man's man or woman, to feel like they have a chance to go out there and succeed because they're going into it with just as much information as anybody else as far as like current lay of the land. That's the only way I would do an event that I would help organize. And I would like to do that at some point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That'd be fun.
Maybe start off small. But I would like to see a bigger event like that happen in New Hampshire. Like a singular event for the whole year. Call it, what the hell? Kind of like the, what the hell is that one? Ryan, you're still here. Help me out. What's the, is it the Renegade on Lake Ontario out of Canada? Or the TIO? It might be actually one of each, where they have like one giant freaking event every year, and it's always like winning team has 27.
We could just do a surprise location, and then from like a center point, we could be like it's within 30 miles of this area, or 50 miles, or whatever.
I'd have to figure out how to do that. So the only problem with that is if it's in New Hampshire, you have to pull your permit well ahead of
can
time.
Know what the place is.
They publicize it.
No, they do.
So I would have to register it under an organization that nobody could know. So you wouldn't be able to connect the dots as easily. I wouldn't even be able to give people the exact date then either, because otherwise they'd be able to just go look on New Hampshire Fishing Game and see it. True. But New Hampshire Fishing Game has to, or at least they choose to publicize it. So that's a wrinkle you'd have to work around. Anyway, we're done. This went on longer than it was supposed to, but you know what? Everybody hung out right up until the very end, so we appreciate it. We will see you next week. I have no idea what the hell we're going to talk about yet. By all means, please, every video, drop suggestions in the comments after this has gone up live, because I can't see these after the video. So when I hit stop stream, this live stream then turns into just a regular YouTube upload that's right there on the channel. You can then put comments directly on that video. Suggestions for topics. Greatly appreciated. Throw them in there. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week. Andrew, sign it off.
Bye. Well, you heard him. I got to sign it off now. Hey, I actually did
job.
the outro to this next video that they're putting together.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot of editing ahead of me.
We will see you guys next week. Like every week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock at youtube.com/603bass. We will see you guys. Bye. Adios.